Thursday night, an NFC showdown up in the Pacific Northwest. Welcome to Good Morning Football. We are all the way across the country getting you set for this one. This is Good Morning Football presented by Intuit QuickBooks. My name's Kay Adams. This is Nate Burleson, of course. Peter Schrager.
You know, I was looking around the league. Some teams need to tighten up, get ready for the playoff run. I said, cut it all off. Let's go. I am ready. Let's make a march to Atlanta, the Super Bowl. The hair is ready.
You look good, kid. Hi, Kyle Brandt.
What's happening, Peter? Did you use a Flowbee? One of those things? Remember that? Yeah. Save money and look great.
Sort of.
I don't even know what that is. Yeah. Tell me the commercial break, because we don't have time to get to that hashtag GMFB. It is time for the lead block because we've got... I don't know how this is going to go tonight. Both have run games all of a sudden, both teams, the Seahawks and the Packers, and they also have quarterbacks that sort of like to be pushed back with their back against the wall. Yeah. They like to make fireworks happen, especially when facing each other. We always say Aaron Rodgers is one of the best. Some people hit him with the goat emoji time and time again, but he has one Super Bowl ring in 10-plus seasons, one Super Bowl ring in over a decade. Are we collectively, as fans, as media, as an NFL ecosystem, as you like to put it, are we giving him a bit of a pass just because he's Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, there's something that goes on here in the industry, and certainly at this table, that it's never Rodgers' fault. It's never his fault. But I'm thinking about it, and I cannot think of a game, as many times I've seen him play, where Rodgers has blown it. He didn't have his game. He threw the big pick and the bad pass, and Buck and Aikman on the broadcast, and I don't know what Rodgers was thinking here, and he takes off the chin strap and they lose. And if you look at all the Super Bowl winning quarterbacks of his era, they've all done it. Yeah. You know, Roethlisberger's done it a bunch of times. Last season against Jacksonville, of course. Eli, tons of them. Peyton, hundreds of them. Breeze, it's a little harder, but I remember even last season, Drew Brees threw a huge interception in the end zone against Atlanta. Rodgers doesn't make that play. Brady's got him. Marlon Jackson, Von Miller, Champ Bailey, over and over. Rodgers doesn't buckle and choke at the end of the game. The reason we say it's never his fault is because it's never his fault. I'm going to stick by it. I think we're fine with it.
I understand what you're saying, but if we're talking about these two quarterbacks in this magnificent matchup, I could say the same thing about Russell Wilson. When is the time where you saw Russell Wilson just absolutely blow it? I'll tee it up.
Russell Wilson threw the worst interception in NFL history against the Patriots on the goal line.
He's not wrong.
Okay, all right. So obviously we know exactly what he's talking about, but you're also talking about that second Super Bowl that he went to, the back-to-back Super Bowl that he went to.
Okay.
The first Super Bowl he went to was his second season in the league, and since then he's done nothing but show us greatness. Here's the thing. We've had this conversation time and time again, and that's what it's about right there. You can mention Aaron Rodgers playing in the league for 10 years and won Super Bowl. Guess what? This guy's been in 6, and he has one, and took his team to back-to-back Super Bowls. It's okay for us to say that they're both great, and they're comparable in certain areas, and they differ in strengths. I came out this week, and I said Russell Wilson has a little bit of an edge over Aaron Rodgers. And people say, well, it's because Aaron Rodgers has torched your teams. Nate, you always hate the Packers. You hate Aaron Rodgers. No, Aaron Rodgers is damn good. He's athletic. He's one of the best to ever play this game. But so is Russell Wilson. The strengths are, I feel like they're both clutch guys. Yeah. They both can do amazing things outside the pocket. For like pinpoint accuracy, Aaron Rodgers dropping back and hitting the receiver right here because the DB is right here, that's something he does the best I've ever seen. When it comes to arm strength, I might give Russell Wilson that edge. Speed, Russell Wilson's faster. His 40 times says that. So it's okay to say these guys have different strengths. I just feel like Russell Wilson, for me, is just as good as Aaron Rodgers.
Here's where Kyle's point really resonates with me. The Packers right now are 4-4-1, and it's not because of Aaron Rodgers that they have those 4 losses. It's because of other teammates that have had ridiculous performances to cause them victories, even this season alone. I mean, we go through it. Mason Crosby misses 4 field goals. That should be a win. You're coming back down from 20. Like, that should be a win. This guy's supposed to make those field goals. The game in Los Angeles, easy. Ty Montgomery, sit in the end zone. What are you doing? Comes out of it and then obviously fumbles the ball away. That should have been Aaron Rodgers given a shot to win. That is a loss. And then as recently as the Patriots game on that Sunday night, Aaron Jones, for all the fantasy numbers he put up and all that stuff, this is 17-17, late in the game, fumbles it away, and obviously the Patriots come.
That changed the whole game.
There's a very good possibility, and again, this is revisionist history. We don't know how this game would go. It was tied at the time. We don't know if Rodgers goes 80 yards. There's a very good chance that the Packers should be 7-1-1 right now, but teammates of his have screwed it up and cost him that opportunity to win. And if you go back through his career, it could be as easy as a Brian Bostic botched onside kick. That should have given him an opportunity. It could have been when we go to those playoff games where he played Kurt Warner and they lost 53-47. You're asking
Giants
him,
Hail Mary.
The Giants Hail Mary. There's so many things. I can't pin it on Rodgers. With Russell Wilson, there's no game where I'm like, they would have won, but Earl Thomas screwed up this play. They would have won, but Richard Sherman made that major mistake. To me, I look at Aaron Rodgers, and he should have more rings, and he probably should have more wins this season, and it's because of other guys getting in his way. That's what I would say.
Has to play into it as well. I'm okay with Rodgers being compared to Wilson and them, because they both do it with not much help. They both shown us that they can do that. Yeah. I have a problem when we start comparing Rodgers to Brady, because there's a conversation to be had there with the rings, of course, but you look at Aaron Rodgers in this situation, the way that we're looking at this in this matchup for Thursday night, he's had 3 All-Pros in his entire career in over a decade. Only one on the offensive side, and that was John Kuhn. You look at Brady, he's had 10. Brady's had a top 10 defense every time he's won the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers has had a top 10 defense twice. One of those years, he won the Super Bowl. So to Peter's point, it's about everything that's surrounding you and those little fluky plays. I'm with you guys. Sorry, Nate.
Listen, what you have in your preference of quarterback is like your preference in beer. Everybody has their own taste. You look at Tom Brady, if you like rings and things, you're going to pick him and say he's the GOAT forever. If you look at Drew Brees and you love numbers with the ring, he's the GOAT. If you say that Ben Roethlisberger is the GOAT, I'm fine with that. I feel like when it comes to these two quarterbacks, they constantly want to say that Aaron Rodgers because he's athletic and he's fast.
Do we make excuses for Rodgers?
Yes, you guys do. He's great. I've said it plenty of times on this show, but so are other quarterbacks. I don't understand how you can say a guy that's won 1 ring in 10 years is the best quarterback hands down. It's not. He's not even the best quarterback hands down in this season that 100%. We're playing in.
You know, you were saying that Russell got to his 2nd straight Super Bowl and everything and threw the interception against the Patriots. The week before that in the title game, Russell Wilson played the worst game of his career. He threw 4 interceptions. It was awful. And Seattle was that good and that blessed around him to carry him. Nobody's ever carried Rodgers. Think in your imagination right now. What are the great Packers defensive plays? What's Ty Law in the Super Bowl? What's Willie McGinnis? What's James Harris? They don't exist.
Clay Matthews had the big one against the Steelers.
It's a long time ago. It's great. And Charles Woodson shows up at the end of his career. It's good. What has he done in the last 8-9 years? Who are the great Packers defenders that have been around this great quarterback? I can't think of them.
Early in his career when he made that run to the Super Bowl, you guys just mentioned 2 names. Clay Matthews, Charles Woodson, both defensive players of the year. As good as the Legion of Boom was.
All pros.
As good as those guys were, as good as that D-line was, as good as the linebackers were, Russell Wilson has never played with a defensive player of the year. So to tell me that Aaron Rodgers didn't have major help, he did. Is he phenomenal? Yes, he is. But so is Russ.
Wilson v. Rodgers. We'd love to know what you guys out there think. Waking up on this Thursday morning, hours away from action in Seattle. Tweet us at #GMFB as we welcome in a guy who knows everything going on in Seattle right now because he is there live. It's Tom Pelissero. Big showdown in the Emerald City with these 2 squads facing off. What should we be expecting to see tonight, Tom?
Okay, there are a lot of weeks when players will give you the "it's just another game" cliche. I spoke to Packers defensive end Mike Daniels, who told me, I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to shy away from it. This is humongous for both these teams as they try to stay alive in the NFC playoff chase. Seahawks coach Pete Carroll acknowledged it as well, said, we know that these are championship matchups. Packers and Seahawks have met on a championship stage before. Daniels told me he considers this a rivalry game. He said there's been bad blood going back to the Fail Mary in 2012. Packers won the last 3 games in this series, but they're 0-3 in Seattle during the Russell Wilson era, have not won in this building since 2008. That was Aaron Rodgers' first season as the starter, and the Seahawks starting quarterback that day was none other than the legend himself, Charlie Fry. Extra challenge tonight. This is a short week. Seahawks veteran guard J.R. Sweezy told me, who's tougher? That's what this is going to come down to, guys.
Now, speaking of that short week, Tom, a key piece of that Seahawks defense, linebacker K.J. Wright was listed as doubtful. There's any chance that he plays in tonight's game?
Nate, I asked him that exact question when I saw K.J. Wright in the Seahawks locker room. He told me no. He then amended that and said a slim chance. If he wakes up and feels absolutely great, maybe he could test things out on the field. Right now, the bottom line for K.J. Wright, he told me, is I need to make sure that I am all the way back 100% so that I'm not putting myself or my teammates in a bad position. Make sure I can be the K.J. Wright that I know I can be. Wright had arthroscopic knee surgery the last week of August. He missed the first 6 games of the season. season. Came back after the bye. He told me he felt pretty good the first 2 games, but last week against the Rams, Wright said it was brutal. He was not able to finish that game. The issue he's got right now is swelling in that surgically repaired knee. It's something he's going to have to manage. The good news for KJ Wright and the Seahawks is he doesn't think it's long-term, hoping that by sitting out tonight, he is going to be able to get that knee right, be ready for the stretch run. Packers shorthanded tonight as well, guys. 4 starters left at home in Green Bay. That includes wide receiver Randall Cobb and linebacker Nick Perry.
A lot of injuries. They're banged up at tight end as well with Jimmy Graham. But good thing for the Seahawks, KJ Wright seems to be the only guy in doubt of playing tonight. You have DJ Fluker probably going to suit up, and their backfield looking stout as well. So not too many injuries on the Seattle side going into this one. Thanks so much, Tom, and we'll Stacey Dales for more.
2 powerhouse defenses, Vikings, Bears, getting set to face off on Sunday night in a battle for what will be first in the NFC North. And while the buzz continues to surround Khalil Mack and his 7 sacks at the front of Chicago's top 5 defensive unit, the man at the forefront of Minnesota's top 5 group, Danielle Hunter, now in year 4, he continues to fly under the radar despite his 11.5 sacks. I asked head coach Mike Zimmer what makes him special.
Well, he's a great athlete, number one. Great length and size and strength, and you know, he's a guy that doesn't think he's a superstar. He thinks he's one of the guys. You know, he just tries to get better every single day. Now he's playing a lot more free.
Well, Zimmer said that the humble Hunter has really come along in his development over the past year. Khalil Mack has been a household name for years. Zimmer noting that Mack has added a swagger to a defense in Chicago that already had swagger, but he's added a physicality, an aggressive nature that's really had an effect on this entire defense.
Amazing stuff from Stacey Dales as always. Let's take a look at the NFC playoff picture. You have the Bears there leading the division. They're taking on the Vikings, who are, you know, on pace for a wild card, but their defense looks amazing. We'll get to that in a little bit. At this moment, guys, do you believe that the Bears, seeing where they are in that entire playoff mix that will be changing week in, week out, are they contenders, Nate?
Yeah, respect them for where they are. Right now, they're at the top of the mountain in the NFC North. And I know people are saying, well, look at their last 3 games and look at who they play, the Lions, Jets, and the Bills. They can't help their schedule. What they can help is how they beat up on these teams, 34-22, beat up on the Jets 41-9, and then 24-10. So if you're looking at these guys and what they do to these teams, that's somewhat impressive. You know what's more impressive?
What?
Their losses. To the Packers by 1 beginning of the season, to the Dolphins by 3, to the Patriots by a touchdown. You're telling me that this team is at top of the NFC North right now, lost to some very good teams at the beginning of the season, can be respected as contenders? I feel like even though the Vikings are the team that we have to respect because they're the former NFC North champs, I don't respect the team that's playing well right now. And for whatever it's worth, that Nagy offense, Trubisky, and all those guys they're using, starting to take shape.
I'm going to wait on my opinion because I want to hear from the 2 Chicago natives because I know there are years and years of frustrations and also success, but what do you guys think?
You know what I usually come back to with the Bears is they can't beat Rodgers. They have a huge Rodgers problem. But the good news about this year is that's not really a factor because they're so far ahead in the standings. They may not need to beat Rodgers. Here's what I look at. This whole season for the Bears, it's just prove it, prove it, prove it. Trubisky, prove you were worth the draft. And Mack, prove you're worth the trade. Robinson, prove you still got it. Nagy, everybody prove it. The way you prove it, I think, right now is you got to win on the road, especially in the NFC. If the Bears are going to have to go to New Orleans or go to the Rams and win those games, they've done nothing on the road yet this season, all right? They've beaten the Cardinals and the Bills. They've no big road wins. That's huge for me, all right? And the problem is, too, their road games coming up are the Lions, the Giants, and the Niners. So we're not going to learn bupkis about them. We may not learn them until they go at Minnesota Week 17. I think they're a huge contender in the NFC North and the playoffs. But Super Bowl, you got to have that signature road win before we talk about it.
If you're in a relationship and things are going really great and you're having these exciting vacations and all of that, it's fine, and that's how I feel as a Bears fan. But my heart is a little protected because there's some scar tissue there from being a Bears fan. I will not say that they're contenders, and when I define that as a Super Bowl contender, which they could be the way that they're looking, until they beat the Vikings. After that, I know that they have another primetime game Thursday night, but they've got to take care of the Rams. They've got that brutal schedule. If they fall to 6-4, it's going to be really hard to do that, considering the Vikings and the Packers have already taken on the Rams, and that's in their record baked in. I'm looking at this game against the Vikings. It's the best defense they're going to face. maybe this year, the way that they're looking. It's crazy to me to think that just a couple of weeks ago, week 4, we had Zimmer after that Rams game saying, I've never had a pass defense play this poorly. I don't know what we're doing out there. And since that speech that he gave post-game, they're the number 3 defense in the league. They're looking great. Everson back. They're clicking. They're celebrating. So that's the biggest test to me. That is like moving in with your boyfriend because it might not work out. They might fall out of the playoffs or get beat. But that is like a sign of commitment that you can rest easy on. Beating the Vikings on the road, the toughest defense they're going to face, that's that for me.
We talking vacations and boyfriends? Oh, we got some conversation to be had at the commercial break.
I'm feeling some kind of way today.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, and that's actually a better show than this one. I would say with Nate's thing, it was like reality right now. You guys are talking history and prove it and all that stuff. Like, for me, I go back with like NFL history. I remember last year, the Eagles were this team that was just cruising and each week winning, and we were like, yeah, but they were the last place team a year before. And is Nick Foles really going to be able to beat Tom Brady in one of these big games? And he did. And then we woke up, we were like, wait, the Eagles Super Bowl champions? Like,
Peter, are you saying Chase Daniels going to be the Super Bowl MVP?
No,
are you saying that?
No, but I'll even go back to like the greatest show on turf Rams back in '99. They were 4-12 in '98.
Yeah.
'99, it's like, Kurt Warner's a cool story, and it's fun for St. Louis guys. But I mean, are they really going to beat?
Enough of this.
Tony Dungy going to lose to those guys? And then they were. And then they were MVPs, and they were Super Bowl MVPs. So I would just say with Kay, wait and see, but let's allow ourselves to celebrate
a little bit
and enjoy what they're doing, because we could be on an amazing ride right now with the Bears, and you don't want to wake up the Tuesday after the Super Bowl and be like, did the Bears just win the Super Bowl and I not appreciate everything that was going on? They're having a really fun year, and they're winning the games.
They're at Vikings in Week 17. They're playing at home against the Vikings this week in a couple primetime games. I mean, that Sunday nighter to the Thursday nighter, that's going to be some adversity that they're going to have to face as a team. We'll see if they can do. I'm excited. I haven't moved in with him yet, you know?
There's nothing better than the little girly razor in the shower.
Once
the
my
pink
stuff's
razor.
in the bathroom, I'm good. That is the Vikings. It's to fuel your hustle. It's presented by Oikos. I can't say it.
It's delicious.
Oikos 000. We love it. We eat it all the time. And we're breaking down players who sort of need to get with it. Step it up, a little fire lit under their booty going into Week 11, Nate.
All right, I'm looking at the Ravens, and I can sit there and bore you with stats. Peter hates it when I do that.
Yep,
and I can tell you how they haven't scored more than 28 points since Week 1, and they're 1-4.
You're a little farter, rip it up.
Usually I tear it up.
It's very simple. The Ravens, they're struggling. Offensively, middle of the pack. Defensively, they're number 2. They're still in it. They're not out of this playoff scenario. Now they're getting a new haircut. You know, Schrager, you got your new haircut today. You look good.
What's your point?
Sometimes as a guy, you'll sit there and say, I want to change things up. Lamar Jackson is the new haircut for the Ravens.
Are you going to Lamar?
They've had the same look for a long time. And there's nothing wrong with that clean-cut Flacco look. But now you got a young quarterback that is electric, that can run the ball. Sure, are there struggles with some accuracy? Of course. But the offense that they can build around him, that's what gives me excitement. All this talk we've been talking about, Joe Flacco being elite, he hasn't won since the Super Bowl. They've been struggling ever since. This is what everybody's been asking for. So I'm not talking to the fans. I'm not talking to the organization. I'm talking to you, Lamar Jackson. This is time to prove your worth. You didn't want to be looked at as a wide receiver. You felt like you were disrespected and looked over in the draft. Now it's time for you to go out there and prove not only to your team, not only to the fans, not only to your coaches, but to the world that you're a legitimate starter in this league. Go ahead and fool your hustle, man, and do your thing.
If Flacco is healthy and says, I'm good to go, we know he's not 100%, you still go Lamar Jackson?
Still go with Lamar Jackson. Wow. It's about time. And I know we've been
getting away from him.
We've been pulling off this Band-Aid very slowly. And let's just be honest, that large number looming over Joe Flacco's head, the cheap young prospect that's right behind him, the athletic ability, and some of these systems that these teams are running that are very successful, let's see what Lamar has.
Love that. Peter has a perfect haircut, right?
Okay.
It's great.
Big Ben.
Wow, okay.
Big Ben had
I love your hair, too.
Big Ben had a perfect game last Thursday, right? 5 touchdowns, no interception, a perfect passer rating. You said it might have been the best game Big Ben ever played.
It's incredible.
Up against the Panthers. That's who I'm looking at to continue to fuel his hustle. Because this game was incredible, right? He was amazing. And really, he only has 4 interceptions, guys. 4 interceptions over the last 8 games with 20 touchdown passes thrown. But we all know what's just ahead in Week 11. It's the Jags This is scary stuff. We're talking 7 turnovers in 2 games. We're talking 5 turnovers in the regular season facing the squad. We talk a lot about them going up north and slaying the Dragon up in Foxborough. You can't do that unless you slay this one as well, because they got the best of you in a big way. There's a chance, in my opinion, here to exercise some demons that are going on. I think he's got unfinished business with this Jaguars team. And I want him to keep things on track. And the bonus icing on the cake for this is all this Le'Veon Bell distraction. He's asked about it. He's like, he's not here. They're divvying up his stuff in the locker room. To me, this is a perfect, we don't need Lev Bell. Guess what? I'm Big Ben, and I'm going to keep this rolling, and we're legit Super Bowl contenders.
It does close a door on last year if they blow out the Jaguars.
I don't know. Maybe I just don't have it anymore. Maybe I don't have it. I don't know.
New season, like Roethlisberger, that's awesome. I agree, and, we'll see what happens there. I'm going with another quarterback. It's funny that we talk about Le'Veon Bell so much, and people are like, why are you talking about Le'Veon Bell? He's not even on the field. If you watched our show from January 2nd to March 14th, all we talked about was Kirk Cousins. Yeah. All we talked about was Kirk Cousins. Is he worth the money?
Not a Cousins.
Would you pay Kirk Cousins? How many teams? He's the belle of the ball. And he got every last dollar that we even said was possible, all guaranteed. And they're paying him that money in Minnesota for games like this weekend. They're not paying him for wins in week 2 or week 3. They're not paying him to win you your fantasy league, and they're certainly not paying him to just be in the mix. They are paying him to win the NFC North, secure a home field playoff game, and get a victory in the playoffs that gets them past where they were a year ago. Kirk Cousins has had a great year in Minnesota. But I'll tell you what, against the Buffalo Bills at home in a game he should have won, he laid an egg.
Yeah.
And that's the ghost of Kirk Cousins that keeps on creeping in. Yeah. You cannot have one of those games this week. You cannot lay an egg. It is on prime time against the division-leading Bears, a team at home that you believe you should beat. Kirk Cousins, they paid you the scratch. This is where you earn it. Not in August, not in doing documentaries for NFL Network, not for doing funny tweets. They paid you the money to beat the teams you should beat in the NFC North. I want to see Kirk Cousins fuel his hustle and get a win on Sunday night.
That's good, Peter. But he was tweeting his wife was listening to Christmas music too early. That does nothing for you?
No, it's not.
Gotta beat the
No,
Bears?
go beat the Bears.
Gotta beat the Bears. All right. I'm looking at Broncos-Chargers. And the Chargers are plugging along, having this great season. They're doing their Royal Rumble. Everything's great. And there's a lot of fighters in the ring, and it's going really well. But everyone just seems to keep looking at the curtain and looking at the tunnel, and Haku's in there and the Warlord and everything. But, give us the big dogs. And wouldn't you know, yesterday, by God, that's Joey Bosa's music. What is he doing here? Look at this at 6'5", 280 pounds from the Ohio State University, Joey Bosa. Back on the practice field, the Chargers just tweeted mood, and Bosa was so, just how you want the pit boss to do it. And Anthony Lynn's being really cautious. He's saying, well, we'll do a few drills, then we'll do a few more drills, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Maybe we can get him some snaps for Sunday. Maybe some snaps. So it's almost like the Chargers have been this incredible machine. They look great. And there's always this, Kay's brought it up, I brought it up, and they still don't have Bosa. And he's their best defensive player. How about the pit boss walking on the practice field, walking out this weekend potentially against the Broncos, and he's that kind of guy they're all going to join on, try to throw him over the top rope. He's not here for it.
Can I get one more Jim Ross introduction of Joey Bosa right there?
That's 6'5", 280 pounds from the Ohio State University. My God, he's broken in half. And hopefully that's not Case Keenum. We're praying for him, whoever it may be, because Bosa's got one to prove right now. It's incredible. Mankind off the top of the cage. Look out.
That is your Oikos Triple-Zero. Fuel your hustle. If you guys have somebody to add, please tweet the show, #GMFB. We're talking all things Thursday night action. We've got Rodgers taking on Wilson.
All right, every Thursday we take a look at some of the recent fantasy trends and we turn to our resident fantasy expert right here, Kay Adams, to decide on the ones that are going to continue and the ones that are going into the shredder.
Yeah.
So without further ado, further delay, let's get ready for Shreddy or Not, presented by Intuit QuickBooks.
Apparently, we're having some technical issues with the Shreddy, but I still want to pull it out. Well, you know what it is? Is these two maniacs on the cover of Shreddy, they're always up to no good, and they probably did something. I'd like to introduce you to Beavis and Butt Shred. Yeah, that's them. That's them right
The great Cornholio.
That's it. Get the hell off my property.
Basically, they're just pulling a prank on me, right? They're being the Beavis and butt shreds that they are, and we're still going to do this. Oh, the show must go on.
It's on the Shreddical report? Oh, man.
All right.
Shreddical report.
Well, then let's go then, Kay. Let's do this. Deshaun Watson will finish outside the top 5 for the first time in 3 weeks.
Yeah, so he started hot. We all know that. A little bit banged up, but if you look at his numbers over the last 2 games, he's back to normal. He's clicking. He's got DeAndre there. Demaryius Thomas is helping out.
Yeah.
He's back to 7 touchdowns over the last 2 games, guys. He's coming off a bye, which is great. We know he started the season with 10 touchdowns in the first 7 games, and I like the matchup because it was going up against the Redskins pass defense. They started hot. They're slipping lately, too. They're super generous to opposing quarterbacks and really passing games, allowing an average of 375 passing yards a game over the last 2 weeks to Matt Ryan, to Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'm going to say that we're going to shred this.
Oh!
Deshaun Watson will. That's the way to do it.
Nice. That's good. Yeah, it's gone. It's like it really happened.
You guys are good at making the Beavis and Butthead noise.
It was so fun to do. Fire. Fire.
Remember frog baseball?
Of course I did. Do I remember it?
Beavis and Butthead.
We all have our favorite DJs, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Go DJ.
That's right. And we got one here in the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
David Johnson's picked it up a bit, Adams, finally. But I ask you, will he put up 100 total yards for the 3rd straight game? Fire.
He is averaging 141.5 yards a game over the last 2 weeks. I'm going to, let me see.
What do you got?
Well, I mean, it's more than Todd Gurley. It's more than James Conner. It's more than Alvin Kamara. It's more than Kareem Hunt. He's sneakily regaining his steam. That's why I wanted to use this one for Shreddy or not, because it's a little bit underappreciated that he's back on the map and doing his thing. Last 2 games, he's looked great, and he's got the Raiders. They've allowed just under 600 total yards to running backs over the last 3 weeks. And, of course, Melvin Gordon's part of that, which makes sense because he'll shred anybody, speaking of shredder. They also got shredded by Marlon Mack and Raheem Mostert. So, therefore, ergo, what so have you, I will not
Save the shredder?
be shredding
Okay.
this. David Johnson, he will put up another 100 total yards for the 3rd straight game, and it will happen against the Raiders.
So like Butthead would say,
I don't know if I
we're
can do
gonna
that noise.
score.
Yeah, we're going to
Score.
DJ in me 1 hole.
Save it.
Breaking the law.
By the way,
Breaking the
I
law.
was 3 for 3 last week on these, so this is
Is that right?
legit.
All right. Bring us home, Striggs.
Okay.
Let's go.
They're showing a Kiss video, and Butthead says, "These guys are pretty cool for a bunch of mimes." I love it. All right. Mohamed Sanu will outscore Anthony Miller in Week 11. K.
We are doofuses.
Okay, so we're taking a look right now at NFL.com's projections, right? And they have Sanu ahead of Anthony Miller this week.
Okay.
I wanted to use this one, and we thank you guys for tweeting all of your problems that you're having in fantasy, because Anthony Miller has been awesome. He's been a top 15 PPR receiver over the last 3 weeks, guys, coming off a breakout game against the Lions. He had 122 yards, a touchdown, and a ton of catches last week. Sanu, struggling fantasy-wise of late. He's averaging 38 yards per game, guys. I know the Vikings are a tough matchup. But, you know, Sanu's opponent, the Cowboys, also not easy. They're tough on wide receivers. I have this weird feeling that with Allen Robinson back, they'll be sort of locked up, maybe getting the treatment from the pass defense a little bit more heavily than Anthony Miller will. Anthony Miller is a star, and I think he's ready to break out. So I will say Anthony Miller outscores Mohamed Sanu, and I will shred this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you guys want one?
Yeah, of course we want one, okay?
I'll give it to you, Nate.
What do we got?
Mike Tomlin is focused on players who are not there. Take a look.
I'm focused on the guys that are here. I'm going to be singularly focused on those that are here working and their development. We're just singularly focused on the guys that are here and working and have been here and working. I've just been focused on preparing the group that's here and putting together a good plan. Nothing has changed regarding us. We're preparing to play this week with the guys that are here and working. Like I've said repeatedly, it's the best approach for us to stay focused on the guys that are here and working. I'm business as usual, focused on those that are here and working. I've said repeatedly, and I mean, I'm focused on the guys that are here, man.
Who are you? Is that Nate?
I am Carly.
Pee-pee for my bunghole.
Pee for my...
Yeah. If you're out there wondering, did I know what I was getting into when I put this bad boy on here? Yeah, of course I did.
Breaking the law, breaking the law.
And this is why I love you guys. Tomlin loves that phrase that would get shredded if our shredder worked. I promise it'll work next week, but it doesn't really matter because these guys are the best, and you guys are the best at the shredding.
You got to fix this thing. There's a trainer or a TB12 method or something.
Yeah,
come on.
is it pliable?
Alex Guerrero, call me.
Come on, Guerrero.
We need some pliability with this thing.
Pliability here.
Oh, it's good.
We're joking. Axe could not be. Our stage manager could not be more upset that this isn't working. He's taking this real serious. It's all good. We'll be back after this. Hugh got back.
Very appropriate for our show. This is on Patrick Mahomes. He spent most of his life putting ketchup on everything.
Yikes.
He would get bottles of it for his birthday. But now that everyone is watching every move he makes, he is sheepish about ordering ketchup, ... At a restaurant recently, his mom, Randy, recognized an unfilled desire as he dove into a steak, and his mom said, just ask for it. And Randy said, I know you want it. And Patrick wouldn't. So she asked for the ketchup and slipped
under the table?
Wow.
She made it happen, Mom. Thanks, Randy. The question I asked to you guys, and we have a very, very serious show.
Yeah.
Ketchup on steak. Okay, faux pas, disgusting. Have at it.
If you use ketchup for anything other than fries, I feel like you're a psychopath.
Yeah. Psychopath!
What about a hot dog?
Hot dog is fine. That's
A
what you're supposed to
burger.
do.
Okay.
Burger's fine. Fries fine, but
not a steak.
Not a steak or a turkey sandwich. I had a friend in high school who put it on turkey sandwiches. I'm like, what do you do? You put it on tacos. What?
What if it's a low-quality steak? Like people use A1 to sort of mask it being a low-quality steak. What if it's not a fancy restaurant?
Steak sauce is fine. Ketchup on steak, I'm not feeling it, Kyle.
Listen, I'm not going to judge. My father puts ketchup in soup. He put in chicken noodle soup.
What?
Bobby does it. He pours it in. People do crazy. It's sugar, tomatoes, and salt. It can't be any worse than that, right? And I would just say this to Pat Mahomes. Keep doing what you're doing. If it got you here. Guys, you know where he threw 6 touchdowns this year? Heinz Field. Boom! Heinz Field. That Achilles looks good.
All
Make
over.
ketchup. I'm a little dizzy.
How's my Achilles feeling?
It feels good.
Oh, good.
Triggs, you tell me. New York steak.
Major faux pas in New York. You walk in and you ask for ketchup and a steak, you might as well take a doggy bag home, too. Like, get out of here. No.
I don't like the A1 shaming that goes on. If I want some A1 on my $70 marbled cut, then I want some. Shut up.
You could say the rest of the AFC is just trying to...
We're presented by Intuit QuickBooks. Back here in New York, Lower Manhattan. Beautiful new studio here. My name is Kay. We've got Nate Burleson and Peter Schrager with the new do. Does it make you... I don't know, do you not like when we talk about your hair so much?
No, I'm okay with it.
You're okay with it?
Yeah,
How much we love
myself. Yeah, I like seeing myself on camera.
Kyle Brandt, what's up?
Hey, what's happening?
Hours away.
We're here. No more sleeps, Adams. Let's go.
Do you have any idea how this game's going to go? I don't even know if it's going to be like an aerial attack situation. If they're going to try to run the ball.
Just close.
Stop the run close.
We've been saying weird all week. I remember they opened against each other several years ago during the Sherman era where he was becoming a superstar. And Rodgers didn't throw to him much. And he approached Rodgers after the game and said, you were avoiding me all game, weren't you? Like he does. And Rodgers was like, yeah, I got on my face, whatever. But it always gets weird and always gets a little contentious. It's pretty cool.
A little overtime feel to it.
I'm into it. Let's do it.
A little bit. Hashtag GMFB if you guys want to be part of the show. And, of course, you do on a Thursday where you can see Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson square off on TNF on NFL Network. It is time for the... Let's do it, guys. Let's talk about the one thing that we individually will sort of be focusing on in tonight's matchup. It's one thing to watch.
The one thing to watch for me is Russell Wilson outside the pocket. Since 2016, he's had 16 TDs outside the pocket. That's second in the league. For me, it's more than just me saying it. Because if you're sitting at home, you're like, Nate, what does that mean, outside the pocket? Just imagine Russell Wilson's under center. He goes to his play call. He drops back. He's looking at whoever he wants to throw to. He goes here, here, here. He steps back even more to give himself more space. And as he's negotiating the pocket, he's like, you know what? Nobody's open. Let me keep moving. Sees guys blocking in front of him. He comes back around. At this point, every receiver out there is running the second route. That's like a scramble rule. That's basically like, hey, I need you to go run over there by that park truck. I need you to go over there by that light fixture. I'm going to just throw it up. If you're a DB, the average play is 6 seconds. You're sitting there guarding your guy. By the time I come out my break, I look back at Russ. I'm like, oh, you doing that? Okay, I know where I'm going. I take off for the end zone. That DB is reaching, grabbing at you like you crossed him over. That's what excites me about Russell Wilson and getting outside the pocket. Of course, he can tuck the ball away and run, but you have to imagine just like this, these guys are going to be all over the field, and the receiver always has the advantage. When a guy this athletic with the arm this big, do you see him just point there like he's giving his guy the alley-oop signal? I'm going to throw it up to you. That's what makes this offense beautiful. Doesn't always turn out how you want it to, but once he gets outside that pocket, it could be as electric as any highlight we see.
I love that.
It's some of the best stuff we have in this game. It's Rodgers and Wilson when they get outside the pockets. When nobody talk, nobody on their phone, everybody watches. It's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
It's always crazy. Yeah. Can't wait to see that tonight. I'm looking at the 12s. That is what I need to see because fake news that CenturyLink is like a tough place to play and that's, nobody wants to
talk about it.
They've lost 4 of their last 5 home games. That is insane to me because that's not what you expect or what you think about there. And you look at right now, and I'll show you guys the home record since week 15 of last season. It's not good. And what's more staggering is that between 2011 and 2016, guys, their record at home was 38-10. 38-10. That's insane. 5-1 home in the postseason. So obviously something has changed. I know the team's changed a little bit, but fans didn't start showing up when the team got good. It sort of happened hand in hand when the 12s and Seattle Seahawks came up together. They need you tonight. You know what else is sort of weird? Aaron Rodgers and company, the Packers do not have a single road win this season. They're undefeated and losing on the road. They're looking to get their first road win up against you and your fan base. So I challenge you. I had a ton of Chiefs fans come at me. We showed some sound yesterday about how loud it is there. They have the craziest speaker system in Seattle. And Arrowhead was like, no, we broke that record. Chiefs fans, I was there. Shakes was there. It was 2014, week 4. I was there for the breaking of the record. The decibel level in Kansas City was like a jackhammer. A collective, imagine a stadium full of jackhammers. Yeah. I need them to outdo that. Get that record back. Get the win. I put some of the responsibility on this team on the 12s, and they were successful. Y'all were bringing it, and you're not late.
Okay, the pep talk to the fans. I love it.
Okay,
let's go.
They're part of the team.
Hell yeah,
they're part of what that is. I want you to shake up Aaron Rodgers. He was asked about it even this week, and he was talking about that element. But I think in the back of his head, he's like, is that element really there? Don't let him question that. Bring it.
Mike McCready, Sean Kemp, Macklemore. Bring it, Seattle. We need you all tonight.
Great relationship that Rodgers has with that stadium, too. Like, I feel like it's almost like Jordan and the Palace at Auburn Hills or like Pedro Martinez and Yankee Stadium. Like, he needs to conquer that place. Like, he needs to take that place down. That is number.
Yeah.
But speaking of the 12s, there's another thing that's fake news, too. If you haven't been paying attention to the Seahawks, or you just kind of look at one of those West Coast teams you don't watch much, you're probably thinking, Seahawks don't run the ball anymore. We're in the PM era, the post-Marshawn era. They've been trying to find this running game. The Seahawks are number 1 in the NFL. Number 1, like Francesa. Number 1, 152 yards per game. And the thing we've been waiting on this team, if you follow the draft, they take this guy in the first round, Rashad Penny out of San Diego State, prolific career. And we've been waiting and waiting. And last week before the game, Pete Carroll comes out and says, Rashad's ready. He's ready for a bust-out game. Sure he is, Pete. We've been waiting for that. Yeah. He had it. He looked awesome. And we're going to see a lot of him tonight. There's a thing they got going here where nobody believes they can run. Nobody believes they're loud. They got a lot of things to play for. And I saw something in Rashad Penny last week that you want right now, week 10, week 11, week 12. Fresh legs. Hashtag fresh legs. He looked spry. He looked like a rook who hadn't been used that much. Seahawks can run the ball, and it's going to go through that rookie draft pick. Big task for the Packers D.
Last week, their run D's been okay, but you look at Frank Gore was gashing them last week.
Talk about it.
November 15th. Is that day significant in American history? I'm sure someone can find some reason why and go back in years and say, here, November 15th is right around the annual part of the season where Aaron Rodgers goes on his run. This is Aaron Rodgers.
This is it?
This is Aaron.
Better be.
Discount double. Ah!
Oh.
And
tell that to Robert Quinn.
The way I see it, though, look at the history here. Aaron Rodgers, these are the weeks he does it. Weeks 11 to 17. And in recent years, he has just thrown that team on his back. All seasons where you didn't expect the Packers to make that run. And in 2016, which we don't even have up there, he won the final 6 games. Touchdowns, interceptions. I mean, this is Aaron Rodgers time. And we go through the years and the big games. Of course, you remember Week 17 against the Bears. You guys were definitely watching it. In this one, the winner would go on to the playoffs, and Rodgers rolling left finds Randall Cobb on an insane play with under a minute left to win that one. Of course, we know that the Lions Hail Mary, that came right around this time of the year in a Week 13.
It's the best throw I've ever seen in my life.
Thursday night game. Phil Simms said he thought it was going to hit the roof. Throws so high, Nance and Simms on the call like, what?
There it is.
Touchdown. It just came down. And then, of course, that same season, a couple of weeks later, we go into it, and it's Week 17 versus the Lions. The Lions, they win the NFC North. But no, Rodgers right into there and said, let's go, let's get this thing done, and they take care of business. This is Aaron Rodgers time. We hit the Week 11 mark. We go to Week 17. If ever there was a time for the Packers to find their stride and get it going, it's tonight in Seattle. And if history is any lesson, Rodgers throws that team on his back, says some crazy thing in the locker room that we recite the next few weeks, whether it be relax or whether it
run the table.
Run the table. This is Rodgers time, and whether you like it at home or not, I am going to take history as a lesson and say, I'm pretty sure he'll find a way to get it done tonight.
Jimmy Graham banged up. Randall Cobb didn't make the trip. You're feeling good.
Peter puts it on like it's a...
Is that a Velcro belt?
It's down
like it's a cummerbund.
It's a man pouch? What are you putting on?
Jokes aside, those numbers were crazy.
He's so good November, December.
Now, shocked if they don't win tonight, given that?
Shocked.
Because it's over.
Shocked.
They gotta win.
Is it over?
Shocked.
Is it over for you if they lose tonight?
It's never over with Aaron Rodgers, but I would be shocked. I would be shocked if he doesn't find it somewhere deep in his gut to throw that team on his back and win this one.
So they might make a run, and it might start tonight on NFL Network.
That's why you watch.
I want to talk about
it's on.
The Seahawks part of things, that side. So let's welcome in our guy, Tom Pelissero. He's in Seattle. You just heard us talking a lot about the Packers and them making a run. What does Russell Wilson have to do to have that tip in his favor? This is a guy who was mentioning his team as a championship caliber one, but they are 4-5. What does he have to do? What does the team have to do to make it happen?
Okay, let's start on the other side of the ball. The Seahawks certainly know what they're up against facing Aaron Rodgers tonight. But I found it interesting speaking to players in the locker room this week. They want to focus more so, their number one priority, on stopping running back Aaron Jones, who's coming off of a breakout performance in Green Bay's win last week over the Dolphins. In fact, Seahawks cornerback Shaquille Griffin told me, we feel more confident about taking away their passing game. So we want to take the run first, force the Packers to pass, and make Rodgers make those plays all by himself. Now, an even better plan would be to keep the Packers offense off the field as much as possible. This is a run-first Seattle team that put up 273 yards on the ground last week in a loss to the Rams. His receiver, Doug Baldwin, told me we've got to control the ball because if we don't, we are putting it in Aaron Rodgers' hands against that potent offense. We've got to control this game as much as possible.
Tom, Kyle just mentioned him. Rashad Penny had his breakout game. Pete Carroll kind of gave us a little hint that he was going to get the rock. What do we expect from Rashad Penny tonight, a guy that everyone should know, a first-round running back out of San Diego State?
Well, great observation by Kyle that he looked spry, looked like he had fresh legs. I spoke to Rashad Penny the other day. You remember, he was on track for a pretty big role in this offense, of course, a first-round draft pick. Then he broke a finger in mid-August. He underwent surgery, got back for week 1, but Penny told me he felt really heavy-footed when he got back. He'd only been running straight-line gassers during his rehab process, hadn't been cutting side to side, didn't feel like he was in football shape, wasn't moving like himself. Well, now he's down to 233 pounds. That's actually less than he played at in college. He actually told me he wants to drop a few more pounds because the lighter he is, the faster that he thinks he plays. Now, Seahawks coaches talk a lot about staying with the hot hand. They've had 3 different 100-yard rushers this season, so pretty clear message, not just to Rashad Penny, but Chris Carson and Mike Davis. If you want to be on the field, be the guy that stays hot.
Thanks, Pete Carroll, for helping my fantasy team with those 3 running backs being healthy out there today. Woof. Thanks so much, Tom Pelissero. We'll talk to you throughout the show. Counting down to kickoff.
Game against the high-flying Saints, okay?
No doubt about it. Week 11, Eagles at Saints. It is a big one. Taking a look here at the NFC playoff picture. You got the Rams and the Saints up top there. How's it shaken out to you so far, Shriggs?
There's only one defending Super Bowl champion in the entire playoff picture, and that's at the bottom of the hunt. Okay. I don't know. It doesn't seem too good.
Here's what happened yesterday. I brought up the question at the table. Out of all those guys on the right, pick the team that's in the hunt that you think will end up in the playoffs. And I'm sorry to bring this up again today, but none of you picked the Eagles. None of you picked the Eagles. So we have to talk about this right now. Why?
It doesn't feel the same, and it doesn't feel like the games they were winning last year with such fun and surprise. It's just not happening. And for me to answer it as Peter Schrager not there every day and saying, here's why, I wouldn't do it justice. But I would turn to Jason Kelsey, the man who wore the Mummers costume, the guy who was that guy. And he had this quote yesterday. Last year, it just seemed like everybody was clicking. We had guys like Brent Selleck, who had been there for a long time, was very accountable. Torrey Smith, who had been in the league for a long time, very accountable. Matt Collins was a guy that gave great effort. LeGarrette Blount, all these running backs that they had their limited amount of stuff that they had to do, but they knew what to do, and they knew what to do those things. And the key word, what we're missing, accountability. Something tells me when the longtime center is saying accountability is that you're watching things on film, you're watching things play out on the field, and it seems like on Monday morning and Tuesday morning, no one's saying, that's on me, or no one's saying, I can be better at that. When the center's telling me that, it tells me that everyone's pointing fingers a little bit, and it's the coaches, it's the players, it's everything. To me, this Eagles team is not clicking on the same cylinders as it was last year. And if accountability is an issue, and your center's talking about Brent Selleck as the reason why, I don't know if you can just make that happen in a flash.
And that's just it. It's the accountability. And I think for people on the outside looking in, it's easy for them to see the final score and say, they lost another one. They're not the same team. But what he is saying, if you read in between the lines, is that last year it was somewhat seamless. And at times they were flawless. They were the group wearing the mask but barking louder than ever. Now they're the big dogs and their bark isn't that loud. And their bite isn't that strong, and the flow isn't the same. And when you hear him talk about guys that were there that aren't, that means the guys that are on the roster right now, they're making mistakes that are costing them the game. And the teams that are in front of them, we'll find out about the Hawks and the Packers tonight, of course. The Falcons have had some moments this season. And then when you go to wild card and teams that are leading their division, Eagles aren't in the conversation. It was a different squad last year. They were, even though they wore the underdog mask, they were running dogs off the porch. They were the big dog. This year, it's completely different. It seemed like every other team saw the big dog on the porch, and they're not scared anymore.
And I had them we did our playoff pictures, right, for the NFC and the AFC. I was one of the people that didn't have the Eagles. I got so much grief for it. To me, it was because of what you're saying, the rest of the teams also looking better and the NFC being so tough. But also, it's not the same team. It's not, they're missing people, all of that, Reich, DiFilippo. I'm a broken record about those two and their impact, but it's the dog masks. It is that mentality that is missing to me. This team, not, it's 9 times they scored 30 or more points last year. They have done that once this season. They have this us against the world mentality. I believe in the sanctity of Super Bowl teams, and this is the element that I think is missing most of all, and I've been saying it all season. I hope they can regain it somehow, because now they are the underdog yet again.
You're right. And I have no more love to give. I've tried everything with these guys. I bought Nick Foles' book. I've done tweets. I've done speeches. And then they go out and they're getting wrapped up by a millennial named Leighton on the Cowboys and scoring 3 points in the first. Dogs. You ever see a dog is so old and deaf it starts walking into sliding glass doors and one of those Elizabethan collars and its owner's following it around with that blue bag of crap? That's
Sarah McLachlan's playing the music?
That's exactly it. So I'm doing everything I can possibly do. And it's sad, but I can't go out and make tackles for them. These are my guys. I'm trying to stand by them. You score 3 points in the first half at home against the Cowboys. I'm done. What else can I do?
Little dogs?
It's not a happy dog.
Marley and me?
Peter? It's not a great ending, is it?
Hustle is presented by Oikos. I can't say it.
It's delicious.
Oikos 000. We love it. We eat it all the time. And we're breaking down players who sort of need to get with it. Step it up, a little fire lit under their booty going into Week 11, May.
All right, I'm looking at the Ravens, and I can sit there and bore you with stats. Peter hates it when I do that.
Yep,
and I can tell you how they haven't scored more than 28 points since Week 1, and they're 1-4.
You're a little farter, rip it up.
Usually I tear it up.
It's very simple. The Ravens, they're struggling. Offensively, middle of the pack. Defensively, they're number 2. They're still in it. They're not out of this playoff scenario. Now they're getting a new haircut. You know, Strager, you got your new haircut today. You look good.
What's your point?
Sometimes as a guy, you'll sit there and say, I want to change things up. Lamar Jackson is the new haircut for the Ravens.
Are you going to Lamar?
They've had the same look for a long time. And there's nothing wrong with that clean-cut Flacco look. But now you got a young quarterback that is electric, that can run the ball. Sure, there are struggles with some accuracy, of course. But the offense that they can build around him, that's what gives me excitement. All this talk we've been talking about, Joe Flacco being elite, he hasn't won since the Super Bowl. They've been struggling ever since. This is what everybody's been asking for. So I'm not talking to the fans. I'm not talking to the organization. I'm talking to you, Lamar Jackson. This is time to prove your worth. You didn't want to be looked at as a wide receiver. You felt like you were disrespected and looked over in the draft. Now it's time for you to go out there and prove not only to your team, not only to the fans, not only to your coaches, but to the world that you're a legitimate starter in this league. Go ahead and fool your hustle, man, and do your thing.
If Flacco is healthy, and says, I'm good to go, we know he's not 100%, you still go Lamar Jackson?
Still go with Lamar Jackson.
Wow.
It's about time. And I know we've been
getting away from him.
We've been pulling off this Band-Aid very slowly. And let's just be honest, that large number looming over Joe Flacco's head, the cheap young prospect that's right behind him, the athletic ability, and some of these systems that these teams are running that are very successful, let's see what Lamar has.
Love that. Peter has a perfect haircut,
Wow,
right?
okay.
It's great.
Big Ben.
Wow, okay.
Big Ben had
I love your hair, too.
Big Ben had a perfect game last Thursday, right? 5 touchdowns, no interception, a perfect passer rating. You said it might have been the best game Big Ben ever played.
It's incredible.
Up against the Panthers. That's what I'm looking at to continue to fuel his hustle. Because this game was incredible, right? He was amazing. And really, he only has 4 interceptions, guys. 4 interceptions over the last 8 games with 20 touchdown passes thrown. But we all know it's just ahead in Week 11. It's the Jags. This is scary stuff. We're talking 7 turnovers in 2 games. We're talking 5 turnovers in the regular season facing the squad. We talk a lot about them going up north and slaying the Dragon up in Foxborough. You can't do that unless you slayed this one as well, because they got the best of you in a big way. There's a chance, in my opinion, here to exercise some demons that are going on. I think he's got unfinished business with this Jaguars team. And I want him to keep things on track. And the bonus icing on the cake for this is all this Le'Veon Bell distraction. He's asked about it. He's like, he's not here. They're divvying up his stuff in the locker room. To me, this is a perfect, we don't need Lev Bell. Guess what? I'm Big Ben, and I'm going to keep this rolling, and we're legit Super Bowl contenders.
It does close a door on last year if they blow out the Jaguars.
I don't know. Maybe I just don't have it anymore. Maybe I don't have it. I don't know.
New season, like Roethlisberger, that's awesome. I agree, and we'll see what happens there. I'm going with another quarterback. It's funny that we talk about Le'Veon Bell so much, and people are like, why are you talking about Le'Veon Bell? He's not even on the field. If you watched our show from January 2nd to March 14th, all we talked about was Kirk Cousins. Yeah. All we talked about was Kirk Cousins. Is he worth the money?
Not a Cousins.
Would you pay Kirk Cousins? How many teams? He's the belle of the ball. And he got every last dollar that we even said was possible, all guaranteed. And they're paying him that money in Minnesota for games like this weekend. They're not paying him for wins in week 2 or week 3. They're not paying him to win you your fantasy league, and they're certainly not paying him to just be in the mix. They are paying him to win the NFC North, secure a home field playoff game, and get a victory in the playoffs that gets them past where they were a year ago. Kirk Cousins has had a great year in Minnesota. But I'll tell you what, against the Buffalo Bills at home in a game he should have won, he laid an egg.
Yeah.
And that's the ghost of Kirk Cousins that keeps on creeping in. Yeah. You cannot have one of those games this week. You cannot lay an egg. It is on prime time against the division-leading Bears, a team at home that you believe you should beat. Kirk Cousins, they paid you the scratch. This is where you earn it. Not in August, not in doing documentaries for NFL Network, not for doing funny tweets. They paid you the money to beat the teams you should beat in the NFC North. I want to see Kirk Cousins fuel his hustle and get a win on Sunday night.
That's good, Peter. But he was tweeting his wife was listening to Christmas music too early. That does nothing for you?
No, it's not.
Got to beat the Bears.
No, go beat the Bears.
Beat Bears.
All right. I'm looking at Broncos-Chargers. And the Chargers are plugging along, having this great season. They're doing their Royal Rumble. Everything's great. And there's a lot of fighters in the ring, and it's going really well. But everyone just seems to keep looking at the curtain and looking at the tunnel, you know, and Haku's in there and the Warlord and everything. But, like, give us the big dogs. And wouldn't you know, yesterday, by God, that's Joey Bosa's music. What is he doing here? Look at this at 6'5", 280 pounds from the Ohio State University, Joey Bosa. Back on the practice field, the Chargers just tweeted mood and Bosa was so like just how you want the pit boss to do it. And Anthony Lynn's being really cautious. He's saying, well, we'll do a few drills, then we'll do a few more drills, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Maybe we can get him some snaps for Sunday. Maybe some snaps. So it's almost like the Chargers have been this incredible machine. They look great. And there's always this, Kay's brought it up, I brought it up, and they still don't have Bosa. And he's their best defensive player. How about the pit boss walking on the practice field, walking out this weekend potentially against the Broncos, and he's that kind of guy they're all going to join on, try to throw him over the top rope. He's not here for it.
Can I get one more Jim Ross introduction of Joey Bosa right there? Like,
that's 6'5", 280 pounds from the Ohio State University. My God, he's broken in half. And hopefully that's not Case Keenum. We're praying for him, whoever it may be, because Bosa's got one to prove right now. It's incredible. Mankind off the top of the cage. Look out.
That is your Oikos Zero. Fuel your hustle. If you guys have somebody to add, please tweet the show. #GMFB. We're talking all things Thursday night action. We've got Rodgers taking on
Matt Ryan joins NFL Total Access. We hope you do as well.
My guys back in L.A., appreciate it, man. Love what you guys are doing now with the Rams and Chiefs meeting this week and what could be a preview of Super Bowl 53. You know I had to break out the chalkboard for another edition of the Burrow lesson. You see what I did there for today's lesson? Woo. I'm going to show you why Tyreek Hill might be the toughest player to defend in the entire league. So let's open up your books to page 10. It's time to head into the Cheetah's Den.
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby. Let's get right to it. I'm going to show you one-on-one versus cover 3 and then a little bracket coverage. Watch this. Jalen Ramsey, who said he's not really a wide receiver. Well, check this out. We have one-on-one coverage. I want you to pay attention to the release move. Single high safety, and watch how Tyreek Hill. See his feet stutter like Porky Pig? Yeah. And once he gets up on him, he can slide even out with him. What we say all the time, when he's even, he's leaving.
That's all, folks.
That's all, folks. And that's it. Listen, no matter the height, even though Jalen Ramsey can throw his hands and be a tall, rangy cornerback, when you have speed, it can get around a guy and stutter at the line of scrimmage where you have a guy guessing. That's what makes him so hard to stop. Now, check this out right here. Here you're going to see an outside breaking crossing route. Tyreek Hill, he's going to run up on Deron Harmon. Now, me and Hamilton was talking about this during a commercial break. I think we just broke Da Vinci Code. These are only teams, this is the only team that can put one guy in a position where he can decide about 10 yards in whether he's going to run a crossing route or a deep corner. Here he runs as a crossing route, turns around like the hokey pokey, and then he jumps up and climbs the hill. Like this is fantastic. Now, think about this for a second. Patrick Mahomes' arm is so strong that at 10 yards, Tyreek Hill will look at the safety and say, I want to cross his face or I want to take this to the corner. That's the reason why that ball was slightly behind. They're making last-minute decisions on deep routes that teams have to plan for and game plan. Now, check this out. You pull Patrick Peterson, your fastest cornerback, out of the play. Tyreek Hill on the inside. And watch this. You're going to see a little bit of confusion. Guys talking here. And here it is, one-on-one, Tyreek Hill, Buda Baker, safety up here. And you're going to see Tyreek Hill just run a simple go route. And now there's mass confusion all the way around, a little bit of a bracket coverage. Buda slides in, Tyreek gives him inside release, and he splits these two like a bad breakup. Now, here's the thing about this. As these guys are communicating, he's taking this go route. You have a wide-open receiver right here. Wow. Patrick Mahomes wants to go for the jugular and goes for a touchdown. Watch this. See these guys talking like they made a mistake. Hey, I thought you were going to bring the chips. No, I'm bringing the chips. I thought you were going to bring the dip. That right there is a bad breakup, but that's what Tyreek Hill does. You have a guy opening the slot, you go right over the top. And speaking of chips and dip, if he keeps dipping on DBs like this, he going to get a lot of chips. So that's why Tyreek Hill, my guy that throws up the deuces, is one of the hardest wide receivers to stop in the game. It's not just speed. It's not just punt returns and kickoff returns. My dude is a complete wide receiver and an absolute game changer.
My man.
The scariest thing about Tyreek Hill, and I know those Chiefs guys pretty well, he was drafted as a running back. So this is just his third year playing the position. He's still learning. So all that stuff, that is hard work, but realize he is just scratching. You're not, Calvin Ridley was a career wide receiver, drafted as a 23-year-old polished. Tyreek Hill is just scratching the surface on what he can do.
So when I'm showing you...
Trouble in Paradise because, you know, he killed Patrick Mahomes in Fortnite.
Oh, yeah, you're right about that.
Chemistry is messed up.
Little video game action right there. What makes this special about what I just showed you, we saw the speed, we saw the power, we saw the versatility. One-on-one, cover 3, bracket coverage, he can do it all. But what was so great about every single play, there was something done in the pre-snap by Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy. Like, that's what makes this team difficult. It's not just, hey, you're really fast, I need you to go catch this ball. The playmaking, spreading guys out. You see the decision-making when he drops back and he sees everything. Pat Mahomes is picking apart defenses because he has the talent, he has the arm strength, and he has the play calling on the sideline that makes his job easy.
That thing where he's deciding the route in the middle of the play.
It's crazy.
That takes years of chemistry. They're in their first year together. Yeah, that's shocking.
Listen, every team has that, but it's 5-yard routes because the quarterback isn't that strong.
Ones?
Never the deep ones. He's running up on a guy, and about 10 yards down the field, he's saying, I think I want to cross.
It's like an option route that's also a deep ball. I've never seen that.
It's unbelievable. It's one thing to pay attention to when it comes to Tyreek Hill up against those Rams. Now, let's go from Kansas City to the West Coast. My guy, Will Selva, in the NFL Newsroom in Los Angeles. Will, what's up, baby?
All right. Hey, what's up there, Nate? Nobody breaks it down quite like you, my friend. And whether you call him Mitch or Mitchell, either way, Trubisky is looking to become the first Bears QB to lead Chicago to the playoffs since Jay Cutler in 2010. He's also on pace to set franchise single-season records for passing yards and
there it is.
Week 11.
He gone. He gone.
Gentlemen, we have a great slate of games going on. Let's dive into some of the best matchups of the weekend, shall we? First up, We're going all the way to Monday Night Football. The 9-1 Chiefs taking on the 9-1 Rams. It's going to be awesome. It's going to take place in L.A., and it's two great offensive maestros coaching from the sideline. But I would like to know, guys, which coach would you rather have leading your team's offense? Ooh. Is it McVay, or is it the guy that you were just talking about with Tyreek Hill drawing up those plays, Andy Reid?
I'm a big fan of Sean McVay. I'm a McVay guy. If I was in the league right now, I'd be beating down the door of the Los Angeles Rams because it's exciting.
You're setting up the okey-doke, Nate. I know it.
I know where you're going.
But I will never pick Karate Kid over Mr. Miyagi. You feel me?
Not bad.
McVay out there waxing on, waxing off, but Andy Reid catching the fly with the chopsticks. So for me, it's one of the guys that have done it for so long, and that's what I can appreciate about Andy Reid, is that he's adjusted with the time. At times, has he had offenses that struggled? Yes. But he had offenses that were successful? Yes. But what's more important than both those things, they've all had different identities. And this year is even different, even more different, because he had different skill sets, different players. Pat Mahomes was so different than Alex Smith. He has speed at every position, and he's adjusted to today's game. And what people said was a flash in the pan, gimmicky style offense. He's using that and blending that with old traditional offense. So I'm going with Andy Reid.
Mr. Miyagi beats up high school kids. It's really questionable ethically. He probably could just diffuse the situation.
They had it coming.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor is 16 years old. He's beating the hell out of him. McVay is not Daniel LaRusso. He's Johnny Lawrence. He's a bad dude. This is why I look at it. About 5 studios ago for us, we used to be in the same building where they shot Let's Make a Deal. All right, Wayne Brady and everything like that. And I look at Andy Reid as, you know what you're getting, and it's really good, and you've seen it for a long time. A little faulted at the end of the season, but there's also what's behind the door number 2, or the X. And that's McVay. There's a big unknown with him, and it might be a big payoff, or maybe not. Maybe you should have gone with Reid, but I'm going to always go for the X door right there. I'm going with McVay because I think the best is yet to come.
It's funny. Yesterday I did the whole thing about how it was a chess match between, Kasparov and Spassky, whatever it was, and a lot of Saints fans came out and said, well, Sean Payton's better than all of them, so fair. We'll leave that of it. But just between these two, I have seen Andy Reid change his entire philosophy from a West Coast guy, short route, to now becoming this exotic 7-on-7 Texas high school mastermind. I love what Andy Reid's doing. I love Sean McVay.
Yeah.
Hell, I love Sean McVay. Andy Reid is my guy if I'm picking one offensive guru for one season. That's
from Alex Smith, Mahomes, back to McNabb, of course, even just Vic back in the day. It's crazy that he's had 12 top 10 offenses in his 20-something-year career, and he's had 4 different quarterbacks doing it. I totally agree with you guys that it's Andy Reid. Moving on, not you, buddy.
We got to do this again tomorrow. I love that topic.
I do. That's a good topic.
I just think there's so much to unload on it. I think
McVay,
feel like you'd be disrespecting Reid if you took McVay, and that's not true. You know what I mean? Like there's just a lot.
And throw Peyton in there. I think it's a great conversation.
You're right.
Well, we have one more day to do it.
Great week.
Let's move on, guys. We are headed to Atlanta. The Falcons and the Cowboys are desperate for a win to stay in the NFC playoff hunt. Both teams are 4-5, but which one do you believe can sneak into the playoffs more? Is it the Cowboys or is it the Atlanta Falcons? That is a round 2 fight.
I'll go with the Cowboys based on the division they play in. I know the Redskins have a couple game lead in them in the standings, but the Eagles are floundering, the Giants are floundering, and the Redskins last week got a very important win, but the week before got lit up by the Atlanta Falcons. Cowboys can win the NFC East. They can finish 9-7. They can go to the playoffs. They can host a playoff game. It's still very much possible. The Falcons in that division with Carolina and New Orleans, good luck, guys. A wild card, maybe the second wild card is your best bet.
I agree with Peter. If you're looking for a playoff contender, it's like looking for a house. Location, location, location. That's why I live next door to a liquor store. But I think that given the NFC South versus NFC East, you have to just take the Cowboys. They're floundering. They're begging to have that division won by somebody. I'll go with Dallas.
I'm dismissing the NFC South, NFC East conversation. I'm dismissing the playoff scenario. I'm just going purely with the resume over the last couple of years. So I'm still sticking with the Atlanta Falcons. I know they've had some highs and they've had some lows this year. Very confusing to watch them because you don't know exactly what you're going to get. But the simple fact is they know what it's like. And they tasted that sweet taste of postseason the last couple of years, and I don't want to dismiss that. I think they still have a chance.
Given the injuries with the Redskins, you got to give it to the Cowboys with that division. I think they have an easier chance of getting back in, therefore a better one. All right, moving on. We are talking Thursday night action. You have Aaron Rodgers, you have Russell Wilson. Which one of these guys do you think will have a Lombardi next? Who has the best chance to win the thing sooner?
It's crazy. Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback I've ever seen. I'm going to go with Seattle. I'm going to go with Seattle because they're retooling on the fly. This is supposed to be a 4-12 year for Seattle, and Pete Carroll's coaching his butt off. They played the hell out of the Rams twice. I know they lost both games, but the future of Seattle is going to be against McVay and Goff and Gurley. I know they didn't beat them this year, but I like their chances there more than I do right now with a Green Bay Packers team that, unless they start turning this thing around fast, I don't even see them in the NFC North.
We're in a day and age where quarterbacks can play 20 years. And I get it, but Aaron Rodgers has been in 10 years. So you don't know what's going to happen moving forward. There's a whole bunch of different variables that can come into play.
Yeah.
Staying healthy, the surrounding players, superstar players that want to go to Green Bay. Seattle's a different deal. Russell Wilson's only been in the league 6 years. We forget all of the success he's had. So who's going to win it sooner? I feel like they're retooling at the right time. For the first time since they had left, since Marshawn Lynch has left, they got a running game.
Yeah,
and that defense is still there. So I feel like it's going to be Russell Wilson.
They're getting back to what they used to do best. And you got to think, Schrags, with all the veterans that'll soon be departing on that team, that's a lot of cap space.
You guys are talking about who's going to get there sooner, but
Yes.
you're talking about long-term stuff. Sooner, the Packers are more built to win right now. Like, the Packers have veteran guys. The Packers have Jimmy Graham. They have Clay Matthews. They have veteran players around them that have been through it and have, you know, won Super Bowls. And Aaron Rodgers is right now that guy. Right? The Packers have a better chance in 2018. So who will get there over the next 5-10 years? And you're talking about veteran guys and cap space, and that's all great for March and April. I'm talking about right now. The Packers, to me, have a better shot of making a run in 2018, getting the playoffs and flipping over the apple cart and saying, we're here to play. Seattle, I don't see it this season. So I'm going to say Green Bay.
Flipping over the apples, huh? Is that a shot at Washington?
That might have been something.
Interesting.
You guys can play along at home.
City, man.
At hashtag GMFB. I leave you with this Throwdown Thursday. Let's stay with Green Bay, Wisconsin up against Seattle. Let's talk Washington. I have a pair of legendary musicians facing off this week. Is it Liberace that is representing Wisconsin?
I think Milwaukee.
Milwaukee area. It is not Green Bay. Wisconsin geography Twitter, do not come at me. And then representing Seattle is Kenny G. Who's more iconic?
Liberace's incredible. I find myself, he's kind of before my generation. I don't know much about him. I know Kenny G, studies have shown he's responsible for 90% of the population. He really is. And he is a G. The stuff that he will put on social is incredible. Check out what Kenny G put up not too long ago. Nothing like some morning sax to get your day going, smiley face. He does that stuff all the time.
Right up your alley.
Right. He's right up the human race's alley. People love it. He plays that little saxophone thing, and magic happens. I respect it.
Yeah, listen, that saxophone, it works magic.
Think about it.
I got 3 kids because of Kenny G.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
You put on, like, it just, not to get in the weeds or in the sheets here, you think you put on this guy's, like, just women just in awe?
Women, men. It's not my wife, it's me. What do you have here?
The 1950s.
Got it from watching you, Dad.
You got it from watching you, Dad. 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, the highest paid entertainer in the world was not Elvis Presley. It was my man Liberace. I'm going with Liberace. He's about that stuff. I got Liberace. He had the flair. Had it all going on.
Can you name one Liberace song?
Behind the Candelabra was a great movie based on his life. A lot of things going on. Can I name a Liberace?
Matt Damon? Michael?
I don't, because I don't know any.
I don't even know if Liberace has songs.
Does he? I don't know what he does.
He plays piano.
Does he sing?
Concertos.
I know the outfits and the piano and the candelabra is great. Does he sing? I have no clue. I know Neil Diamond, all I know.
Yeah, Forever Blue Jeans. I got you.
Research. Does Liberace sing?
Does he play the piano? I guess he does, right?
Of course he does.
What's his #1 hit?
Liberace Twitter is going to kill us right now.
I don't think that exists.
You don't?
No.
Let's find out. Are you guys out there like Liberace and on social media?
I know Kenny G Twitter is out there.
Oh, for sure.
How many Kenny G babies is out there?
And
7 people raised their hand back here.
That's not true. Let's bring in Tom.
2009 Offensive Player of the Year, first team All-Pro running back. Listen, there's 7 guys in NFL history that have rushed for 2,000 yards. Guy that's sitting with us right now, he's one of them. Please welcome to the breakfast table a man who had a career as bright as the jewelry that he has on, CJ 2K Chris Johnson. Woo! Hey, yo.
What's up, man?
What's up? What's up? Hey, appreciate you joining us, man. Now, listen, 10 years. You decided to announce your retirement last week. Now, let's just say, hypothetically, you're sitting at home, a text pops up.
Yeah.
What's up, big head? Couple teams. It's a couple teams like, you want to go get a ring? Would you go out there lace them up again?
Nah, I'm done.
Yeah?
Unless they offer me a Le'Veon Bell salary. But nah, pretty much, yeah, I'm done, and I'm good with that decision. So now it's just moving on to the next chapter, and that's just, you know, relaxing and spending time with the kids and the family.
It sounds like a pretty nice future to me, but you got to take us to the past. Take us to 2009 when you not only rushed for over 2,000 yards, but you broke and still hold, mind you, the record for most yards from scrimmage in a single season. The number is 2,509 yards. Looking back on that, it's been almost a decade since that happened. What went into that to make it such an incredible performance? What, like looking back, what stands out, or how did it happen?
Man, it's crazy. You know, we just had a very, very good team, very great defense that always kept us getting the ball. And, you know, Mike Hammerdinger, you know, he just had so many crazy play calls. And, you know, the offensive line was great. And it's just like I got in my zone. And the crazy thing is, before the year started, I don't remember, I think it was training camp. And so I actually told the media that I was going to rush for 2,000 yards.
Did you call your shot?
Yeah, I told them, yeah. So, you know, they was looking at me crazy or whatever. Yeah. And it's crazy because the 2,000 yards overshadowed the 2,509, which is an NFL record. It overshadowed that. People forget about that a lot. And, yeah, for me to break, and I wasn't even thinking about that. I forget about it sometimes. But for me to break Marshall Faulk record, it's great.
Yeah.
The scrimmage yard record was incredible, but when I look back on that season, I think you should have had a shot at another one. The Eric Dickerson rushing record is so vaunted, so respected. The end of that season, week 17, you remember the game. You're playing against Seattle. Chris, you busted a huge 62-yard touchdown that got called back on a terrible...
He knows exactly what it is.
Chris, you know what I'm saying? And there's a very, very famous referee who's now retired who called it. If that stands, you're then sniffing the record and could have blown the Dickerson record. Like the one, when you're looking at the play and remembering that week, what's it like for you?
Man, it's crazy because we've been working on this. It was actually the play we run it a lot as a handoff. And Coach Heimerdinger said we're going to put it in as a toss, but we still run it the same way. So as soon as I get the ball, I see the hole open up and a mile hall going, it's him in the linebacker, and he blocked the guy. And
is this the play here?
Yeah, that's the play. And it was crazy because when I got to the end zone, I turned around, I don't see none of my teammates running to me. So I knew it was something. I'm like, oh, man. And it's so crazy because the next offseason, that referee actually was coming to the practice. You know how they do in the practice, referees and stuff.
Yeah, Ed Hawkins there.
Yeah, and he said it to the team like he made a mistake on that call.
He apologized?
That's true?
He apologized. And that call caused him not to be able to ref in the Super Bowl that year.
I remember sitting on the sideline. I remember sitting on the sideline.
You were in that game? You're a Seahawk?
And rooting for him. You know, I don't care less about wins or losses at that point. You know, you just want to witness greatness from one of your peers. It was absolutely phenomenal watching them, though.
Kay mentioned the scrimmage yards record, and I think that's kind of underappreciated from your career. You could catch the ball out of the backfield. You were a wonderful receiver. Right now, there are so many receivers that do it all. Who is the dual threat receiver that you watch in today's game that you say, that guy's got it?
I got to say Alvin Kamara.
Kamara.
Okay.
Yeah. I look at his game, and I can't lie, when his first year, you know, I didn't pay much attention to him, but the more that I watch him, and I just see how his game is, how he catch out of the backfield, how he can also run, and he showed how he can be an every down back when he had to play the first 4 weeks of the season by himself. So he's a real good back.
And maybe the best one in football is one that we haven't seen all season. That's Le'Veon Bell. I'm sure you're a fan of his game. What'd you make of everything and him taking a stand and saying, I'm going to sit out and give up $14 million guaranteed? Chris Johnson, you've had your contract issues in the past.
Yeah.
What do you make of it?
Man, you can look at it at two ways. You know, as a man, it's something you want to do and you stick by your word. And then at the same time, it's like, am I really going to let $14 million go? Just go back to the question. He said, if I get a call tomorrow and somebody saying they want me to play, if they say, yeah, we want you to come in for vet minimum $1 million, $2 million, I'll probably say no, but $14 million, that's hard to turn.
Do you respect it in a way, or you have no respect for it? You think it's just foolish?
No, you have to respect it. You have to respect it. And you never know what his contract going to look like next year. He might make it up. He might not. You never know.
Listen, there's so much to dive into. I respect the fact that if somebody offers you $2 million, you wouldn't take it. Life is good for this man. Now, listen, you played at such an incredible speed. And, of course, we're all familiar with that 4'2", 440. Since then, you've seen these guys come in. We say all the time, the game, they get bigger, faster, and stronger. And you see some of these young guys. Do you see any of these young guys that are one of the fastest players in the league competing with this man right here, who is the GOAT when it comes to speed at the combine?
I'd say probably second place. It's probably second place.
They second to you?
Yes.
But
because
at your fastest, nobody can rock with you.
Nah, when I ran that, I was 200 pounds when I ran that.
So you're saying you could have ran
crazy.
faster?
Yeah, probably if I was as small as the other guys who ran.
You're talking John Ross. John Ross broke your record. It was a big deal. We all talked about it. What was it like for you?
I don't believe he broke it.
Explain it, because there are conspiracy theorists here saying that was an NFL job right on that one.
Yeah, I think it was an NFL job on that one.
Why?
They got sick and tired of one person holding the record.
They doctored it.
They got sick and tired of your shadow beating everybody else's shadow, right?
Wow. When they put the thing on, when they put the thing next to another, I pulled off at the end, probably like the last 2 or 3 yards. I pulled off, and then I never seen anyone take a whole hour to get the official.
We're on the NFL Network. Do you think that they needed a little buzz for that combine? That's what they did?
Yeah, they needed a little buzz for it.
Hey, but listen, though, here's the thing.
This is incredible.
This is the Montreal screw job.
Pull it up.
Yeah, he said pull it up. He said pull it up.
Indy screw job.
Hey, listen. Hey, now, we came in the same era. You said that you were 200, pounds or so. Nowadays, you don't necessarily have to be heavy, but I remember us coming in, they were saying, you got to be big, you got to be big.
Yeah.
So you put on weight, and you feel like if you would have dropped weight, you could have ran. What do you think you could have ran if you?
Well, when the scouts come in, when you go into the senior, I guess it's the junior pro day or whatever, when they come in, I ran a 4.18.
4.18?
Okay, 4.18.
Right.
Weighing what? What was your weight?
When I was 190.
190.
190.
So Tyreek Hill's 5'8", 180 or something like that. Are you faster than him?
Probably 170.
Are you faster than him?
Yeah, at that time. But he's probably the next guy, to me, the fastest guy that I've seen in the league is probably Tyreek Hill.
He has that type of speed that reminds you of yourself.
Yeah, he has that type of speed. What did he run at the combine?
I think he ran a 4 hammer
or something like that.
I think every time they show his highlights, they speed it up intentionally to make him look faster.
How fast do you think you can run right? How old are you right now?
I'm 33.
How fast do you think you can run the 40 right now?
If I train for it?
Yeah.
Probably 4.28.
4.28 right now?
Look at.
Oh, that's crazy, bro.
I
know. I believe you.
What did T.O. run? Was it a 4.5, 4.4?
Yeah. No, I believe you. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. That
by the way, Tyreek did not run at the combine. So
he didn't? Oh, okay.
You know what we love about you is you didn't come from one of those massive college football factories. You didn't have that real famous name. Even your name itself, Chris Johnson, that's not Ezekiel Elliott or Le'Veon Bell. Jump off the marquee. And yet you still made your plays. You still made your career. And then you got this incredible nickname, CJ2K. It's a great handle that you earned. What did you think about that nickname?
It was crazy because it was the same year that I said I was going to rush 2,000 yards. But as the year went on, people forgot about it. I wasn't thinking of it. And then I think it was probably like week 10. And I probably had like 1,400 yards like week 10. And then I guess it was NFL Network. They started calling me that name or whatever, and it just stuck. It just stuck from then. And like every week after the game, like they'll have like a ticker, and it was like CJ2K yards. Yeah. And every week they put whatever my yards was, and ever since then.
You walk through the airport, people yell CJ2K?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's it. It's forever.
Yeah, it's forever.
Great handle, dude.
Hey, well, listen, by the looks of that chain, it looked like that 2K stand for 2,000 carats because that thing is shining. And listen, I appreciate you joining us. We're all kind of geeking out because we're all big fans. I played against you. I seen greatness firsthand. I tell people all the time, take it at face value because when it's gone, it might not come around for a long time. When you did it at such a high level, and you were one of the guys that changed the position. And there's a lot of CJ2Ks playing in the game right now because they watch you. So thank you so much for everything you do. Hey, enjoy the retired life, man.
I will.
What's up? Chris Johnson, y'all.
Salute to service on all of your tweets. The NFL donating $1 per mention. The goal now extended to $6 million. So let us keep going with our goal here. $6 million is where we want to go. All you have to do is tweet out #salute to service, Mr. Schrager.
Awesome, Will. Great, great cause. Everyone keep on doing that. #salute to service. Back here at the breakfast table, we've got a new show within GMFB, and we're calling it ESI Atlanta.
Okay.
Postseason investigation. And you're seeing what the playoff picture looks like right now. In the middle is the motive, the target. That is the Lombardi Trophy. But if you look closely, we have all the teams that are in and outside the hunt. The Chiefs in the AFC are the 1 seed. The Steelers, the 2. The Patriots, the 3. The Houston Texans, currently the AFC divisional leaders at 4. The wild cards, 5 and 6, Chargers and Bengals. And on the NFC, you see what you have. Guys,
yes.
In short, if the playoffs were to start today, and they don't.
But if they did.
The Chiefs and Steelers would have a bye. The Rams and Saints would have a bye. The wild card matchups would be Patriots at home versus the Bengals.
Okay.
Texans at home versus the Chargers. Meanwhile, on the NFC, you would have the Bears hosting the Vikings in an NFC North wild card matchup playoff game, and the Redskins, the NFC East winners, hosting the Panthers in a rematch of the game that they played earlier this year, where the Redskins got the best of Carolina. Rams Saints, Chiefs Steelers, and look at all those interesting people of interest on the bottom who are on the outside looking in. What are your takeaways from PSI?
My takeaways is that the Bears are right in the thick of it.
They jump out, don't they?
They really do jump out, and they jump out for a couple of reasons. One, you know, the beautiful jersey, but that's Mitchell Trubisky right there. He wasn't that man last year, so I think a lot has to do with that offense and Matt Nagy and what he's doing in Chicago.
I'm looking at the guys on the outside looking in. 2 of them are playing each other tonight for a huge game. They want to get in the club. Aaron Rodgers up against Russell Wilson, and they could start that tonight.
It's true.
That's a great call. I look on the AFC. That's going to get wild right there. Andy Dalton's still in the playoffs. I know the Bengals have hit the rocks a little bit. You have red-hot Colts and Titans teams on the outside. That thing's going to get really complicated fast. I'm kind of crushing on the AFC right now.
And I'm not sure if that Flacco image changes.
Why is he not in pads?
Can I finish it with a little Caruso? Changes to a Lamar.
We won't get fooled again.
That is today at 3 p.m. Eastern and only on NFL Network, Kyle.
Only on the network, okay? Let's talk about some guys. Edgerrin James, Christian Okoye, Chris Johnson.
Great guys.
Guys who have won the rushing title in this National Football League of ours. So we had a little exercise we did this season. We were going to try to draft who we thought this year would win the rushing title. Kareem Hunt won it last year, so we called the segment In the Hunt. And we did a draft before the season started. Peter went #1 with Mr. Hunt. Kind of surprised us a little bit with that pick. Turned out good, though. Then we did Gurley, Jordan Howard, Leonard Fournette, and we snaked back and forth all the way to Kerryon Johnson on the bottom right corner as our Mr. Irrelevant. So let's go to the carnival, my friends, and away they go. You're looking at our 4 teams running out of the gates. Release them. That's Le'Veon Bell. Nate took him to second from the top. And then Peter, Nate, Kay, Kyle, and it's Todd Gurley with Zeke and Mr. Hunt. Okay.
Peace out.
Le'Veon left. Le'Veon is gone.
I was wondering why he was able.
See you later. He ran to the ring toss game.
I was wondering why he was moving.
Left the building.
He left. But guys, this is going to get interesting here because Gurley has led this thing pretty much wire to wire. He has 1 more game, and then he's hitting his bye, in which he will have 0. So if anyone's going to run him down, this might be the time. Peter, take us through Team Schrager and what you got on the
I like what I got, but here's the top 5 here. Gurley, Elliott, Connor, Hunt, and then we got Gordon. All of these guys are accounted for except for Connor and Peterson on one of our teams. But I love my Saquon Barkley. That's the guy. He's already had his bye. He's coming on, and I feel like Saquon in the second half of the season is going to make a push.
What about you guys?
Cook, Freeman coming off a bye. I frankly am disgusted by Jordan Howard's output. In a game that they're up big, why are we giving him the ball?
Saving his legs.
I'm disgusted.
Saving his legs for the big games.
Disgusted.
Hey, Jordan, I like you, man. I like you. I'm Todd Gurley. He's going to win this thing. So that's my guy. That's my pick. So Le'Veon Bell, is this like rollover minutes? Can I save it for next year?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ask him when he's with the Colts. Yeah, why not? Go ahead for it.
Not.
Do it. Yeah. My team's kind of middling right now. Zeke had a big day, but he still can't run down Gurley. Fournette's back in the field, and Kerryon kind of hanging around. So we will check back in with In the Hunt. I got to tell you guys something that's really cool. I was approached yesterday right outside our studio by a New York City police officer. This guy named Lou runs up to me, works this beat down here, Trade Center down. This guy is a massive fan of the show. He's a huge fan of the Jets, and incredibly, his uncle is Fireman Ed, the famous Jets fan. I'm not kidding.
Really?
So Lou, we love you. We love your family. Thank you for support, and thank you for keeping us safe. Do you guys see Lou downstairs? That's the guy.
Love that.
That's amazing stuff. Also, I would like to give a quick birthday shout out to David Ziplo. Producers on the show. It is his birthday. There he is. At Wembley.
Look at that handsome guy. Oh,
King of the world.
Zips,
Strays.
the most creative people we have ever been around. Happy birthday, Zips. We'll see you guys tomorrow for highlights and everything you need to get set for Week 11. Packers, Seattle Seahawks tonight in Seattle.
Big game.
See you.
Hey, ladies, I'll hook you up with Zip.